the passing of Paul Orndorff. I mentioned this to Don Morocco a couple of days ago because we've got a podcast going and he wrestled him for years. And I was trying to think, when, apart from Smoky Mountain Wrestling, did you cross paths much with Paul?
I've crossed paths with when I first started out going to Georgia Championship Wrestling in 1981. Nice guy then, tough guy then, a little hard to get to know or understand. But once you understood the kind of guy Paul was, he was a great guy to have in your corner. Always a cool guy. I did a shoot interview with him years and years ago where we sat down and talked, he and I. And I could see it then, but it happens to all of us because he remembered stuff and would talk about stuff that he might have thought happened or I might have forgot happened. But great guy. One of those really legitimate tough guys like a Bob Armstrong in Georgia, like a Blackjack Mulligan in the Carolinas. And everybody knew he was a badass. And Dick Slater, another tough guy. That was the mold Paul came from. So, yeah, he was – I'd been around Paul for about a year and a half and then Smoky Mountain and then just – God, maybe it's been 5 or 6 years ago when we sat down and had a shoot interview together. I interviewed him.
I'll bring up Smoky Mountain, his sort of brief run there in a second. But in the obituary that Dave Meltzer gave recently, he mentioned that he competed in some sort of primitive form of mixed martial arts and some sort of pit fighting back in maybe the late 70s. I mean, have you any knowledge of that?
I really don't, but it wouldn't surprise me because Paul, I think, from what I remember, he was raised in a trailer by his dad, and he grew up a hard life. He had a hard life growing up, so that wouldn't surprise me if he did some sort of fighting and tough guy stuff because that's who he was.
And I will bring up Smoky Mountain again, and he seemed to come in briefly. Was it for the tournament for the heavyweight championship just before he went back to WCW? I mean, how did he sort of change? Was he just always intense? I mean, obviously, apart from his arm that had deteriorated due to the neck impingement, was he just same old Paul?
Yeah, actually, he was. And the great thing about that is he was taking a break from WCW, and Jim Cornette brought him in. And he's always got along with Paul. I think, once again, it's one of those things. You respect me, I'll respect you. And that was the kind of man Paul was. So, yeah, he was intense, but I think in later years he understood, especially once he had the arm problem, the nerve problem, that sometimes it's better to put a hand down to bring you up instead of putting your foot on their throat and kicking them in the face down. Because Paul could do that too. He could be ruthless when he wanted to be, but he was the greatest guy in the world if you really, really liked you and was on your side.
Yeah. Did you see Trainer in him in '92? Because obviously he went to the power plant very soon afterwards to be their resident trainer.
Well, for that time period, yeah, certainly, because the guys who were doing the training at that time were usually old school veterans and guys who were looking to do a little bit on the side. And I could see that in Paul because the way of thinking back then was, protect the business. And if you want to get in, we're going to show you the hard way. We're going to show you it's not so easy and it's not all phony or what you think it is. And I can see that in Paul. I can see that in guys like Hiro Matsuda, Eddie Graham, and that's where Paul was raised. So that was the mindset he had. And in some cases, that works. But, there's not too much distance between a pat on the back and a kick in the ass. And you have to decide which one to do. And Paul's the guy to get him to kick in the ass. So, if you need somebody to coddle you and love you and tell you, oh, it's okay. Well, we get that. But then you need somebody to say, no, get off your lazy ass and work. And Paul was the get off your lazy ass and work guy because he always did.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll move off Paul. Rest in peace, Paul Orndorff, as well, because he was I'm too young, obviously. We didn't really get the WWF until the 86 onwards. So he sort of missed the big run. But, rest in peace. I've seen some stuff of him. He was crazy strong, crazy intense dude, and no wonder he drew tons of money.
He really was, and you got the guys. You have Orndorff, Piper now passed away, Snuka's passed away, and I guess Hogan, Mr. T, are probably the only guys left from the first WrestleMania main event. So Hogan and Bob Orton, excuse me. So, but Hogan, Bob Orton, Mr. T. How about that?